Gun control has become one of the most controversial issues in our society today. But in order to understand why gun control has become so controversial, you need to understand the two main arguments for and against gun control. The debate about gun control starts off with one's own political ideology, or how one thinks politically. This political ideology of different people is acquired through family preferences and the culture they grew up in. The political spectrum is a great starting point for this argument because it shows the gap between conservative and liberals and independents. Conservatives, or people on the right of the political spectrum, tend to favor less government regulation and therefore allow for gun use freely. Liberals fall on the left side of the political spectrum and usually favor more government regulation and therefore more government action on gun control and limiting gun use overall. The reason the gun control issue is so controversial as a whole largely stems from the controversial Second Amendment. The Second Amendment states, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." Therefore, it never says that individual citizens have the right to bear arms, but it does say a well-regulated militia. So people take this different ways, and people don't really know how to interpret it, but conservatives interpret it as everyday citizens have the right to bear arms, but liberals tend to interpret it as the army has the ability to bear arms and not individual citizens. The wording of the Second Amendment begs the question, what is a well-regulated militia after all? And because the language is so vague, many politicians and constitutional experts have not been able to decipher the true meaning of the Second Amendment, which makes it so controversial. Now that we've gotten the background information of the gun debate out of the way, now we can move on to the actual debate. There are two main arguments in the actual gun debate: whether or not we should give everyone guns to protect against bad guys with guns, or take away all the guns so that no bad guys have guns. Personally, after researching and looking at many data tables, I believe that the best solution is to take away all the guns. Pro-gun activists usually use the slogan, "The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun," in order to base their arguments off of. But based on many different data tables and research, the evidence is actually contradictory to their beliefs. And when you look at countries like South Korea and Japan, which don't allow their citizens to own guns, they have the lowest gun violence rate and some of the lowest crime rates and death rates as well. This picture aims to put in perspective the gun issue that we have in our country. We have the highest gun ownership rate of any country in the world, and we have the most guns per capita, meaning for every American there's at least one gun, and most Americans that own guns own multiple. As you can see here, high gun ownership is directly correlated to firearm homicides, as we have the most guns and easily the most firearm homicides per 100,000 people in the whole world. And when you can place it on a map, we also have the most mass shootings, which we had 204 last year, including 52 school shootings. Perhaps one of the most sad parts about this whole issue is that the American people recognize there's a problem. Over 63% of the population in the United States agrees that common sense gun reform needs to be achieved and that a change needs to be made. But frankly, our politicians have stopped listening to us because of fear of large interest groups like the NRA and other pro-gun interest groups that control their political careers and try to manipulate the system. I wanted to hear from you guys and get your opinions on this issue. So I went around campus and asked the first 100 people I saw whether they think the best idea is to ban all guns or give everyone guns, and these are the results.